So are you going to be a beekeeper this year so you can save the bees? So you're just about to buy a nuc. You're just about to become a beekeeper. But what the heck is a nuc? And why does everyone call it a nuc? It's important to understand what it is that you purchase as a beekeeper, and whether you're the first year and still finding things very confusing, or you're just about to and still don't understand all the terminology. You really want to understand what it is that you're about to purchase or what your choices are when you're purchasing. And it can be confusing. People have a lot of opinions, and beekeepers are no different, as to what would be the best thing for a new beekeeper to purchase. And one of them is a nuc. A nuc is the nucleus of a larger colony. And it's called a nuc because it's only about 5 frames. We kind of in the industry use it interchangeably. Sometimes we say 2 frames, 3 frames. But when we're talking about customers and people that want to purchase a nuc, not a nuc, a nuc, it's generally a 5-frame colony, 5 frames of bees that will then grow into the colonies that you see, whether it's on Instagram or like the hives behind me. As you can see today for me, I'm in sweats because it's in the 50s, but it's well overcast, and I was just moving some bees from one yard to another, and it's best done in the chill, and I don't wait for the evening because they've been cold and I got out here early enough before they started moving. Hello. So the nuc is the nucleus of the colony that will hopefully grow. And there's different controversies that I've seen, and it's maybe not a controversy, complaints on the forums when I see different people who received a nuc and were not happy. And I sell nucs. So let's start with a few things that I've seen. First, what is a nuc? The 5 frames that you get as a customer should be 5 frames of bees. It doesn't mean all frames are going to be capped brood, which means new bees getting ready to emerge. In general, we put in 3 and maybe 3.5 frames. In general, we put in 3 frames of brood in various stages, both from egg all the way up to emerging. Then the other 2 are going to be stores. Stores meaning pollen, nectar, or capped honey, maybe some type of both. And if it's not all on one frame, then it's a variation, but it's going to amount to 3 frames of some type of brood, 2 frames of stores, and in my case, and I've seen in many others, I actually give you about 3 frames of brood, 1 frame of stores, and sometimes it's a frame to grow on, because in the South, that frame is growing so fast that if I put a packed nuc up like that, they may swarm before you ever get to actually open it and look through it. So a frame to grow on is nothing to sneeze at, because that means that's a healthy nuc that is working on a new frame. When you get a nuc, it's not meant to stay in that nuc box. It is a growing colony, and generally when you are buying them, you're buying them and picking them up in the spring. In the spring, that's when your nectar flow is heaviest and the brood is growing exponentially. So it is meant to go into an 8 or 10 frame box almost immediately. You may have a week, you may have less, like I said, depending on the strength of that nuc. You also want to understand that buying a nuc, you should be getting a queen that is in charge of that colony. And this is one of the complaints that I've seen. Some people get a nuc, and this is on the producer. They will produce a nuc, but not the queen. And that's not the problem. The problem is that they produced this nuc. They put this nuc together, 5 frames, no queen, and then stuck a caged queen in there and never checked that nuc to be sure that she was laying again and that it is now her colony. That's not a good nuc. That's on the producer. That's not on the new beekeeper. Because a new beekeeper doesn't understand just yet what he or she is about to look for. If you open up your nuc and there's still a queen cage, which is a tiny little cage that fits between the frames, and sometimes I've even heard the queen is still in it. So that's not a nuc that you're paying top dollar for. That is something that should not be passed off as a starter nuc. It can work out. That's how nucs are made. But it's not something that you pass off to a new beekeeper that doesn't understand the nuances of what they're about to look for. So if you're a new beekeeper or a potential beekeeper, it's fine for you to ask, where does the queen come from? I'm a queen producer. My nucs are stocked with my queens. I do not let a nuc go out that I haven't made sure that she is actually laying, whether it's a nuc that I put together and I just let her grow out, or a nuc that I added a queen to. If you get a nuc, it's up to you to put them into their new hive and then to go through and say, yeah, you saw the queen, or you know that she's laying. And it's a lot on a new beekeeper, but you want to make sure within, say, a week, 2 time frame that, yeah, you saw eggs, you saw something that you said is a good working hive. If they get mean, hopefully they're not just mean bees, that may indicate that somewhere she went queenless. A lot of producers will either ship you a new queen or what have you, but generally this is the reason that as a producer I tell my customers, you want to make sure that the nuc is travel ready. I put the nuc together. I have secured the lid. It's up to you to make sure that it is not slid around in the back of your truck, in your trunk, wherever it is that you're going to travel with this little colony. You also don't want to put her in absolute sunshine. Shade is best. If you can put it inside the car with the air conditioning on. In my neck of the woods, it's very hot when I'm giving out nucs. Cool is better than heat. Heat kills bees, especially in the back of a truck, especially a confined colony. So, if for some reason you think, oh no, this was really, I didn't jostle it, I didn't do any of this, you may be due a new queen. That is up to the producer, but a lot of times it's once it leaves my site, I don't know what you did. But for those that open it up and find the queen cage still in there, I'd be questioning, where did the queen and how long was that queen in that nuc, and was it checked prior to giving it to you? One of the things that you should not do as a customer is not check your bees. We all understand that you're new, but like I said earlier, this customer decided to call me 6 months later and say that the queen wasn't laying. That's not on me. That's on you. They knocked over the hive. I put it back together. I saw the queen. I put her back together. I tried to tell them how to secure it in their car. And then months later they say, well, she never recovered. That is not on the producer. That's completely on the beekeeper, whether you're new or you're, into this for 10 years. The nucs can be the best way to begin beekeeping because it is small. You're not waiting for them to draw comb, and it goes a bit faster than, say, a package of bees. And this is because of those 3 frames of emerging and early brood. They come with a population plus, whereas the package, there is no plus until they have drawn comb and finally capped the brood, which would take 24 days or a month between drawing the comb and finally capping it so that they can emerge. This comes with that. Do you still have to feed a nuc? Yes. If you're in a flow, and you know you're in a flow, but I'm assuming you're a new beekeeper, so you can go ahead and feed them. It doesn't hurt them. It encourages them to build some wax and get going. But if you know you're in a flow, say you have a mentor or a group that says, hey, we're in a flow, you don't have to. It just kind of secures the comb building. I have a video that I'll put here about how to put your nuc into your 10 frame when you get it. And in the South, there is generally 2 times. Early in the spring, there is one way to do it. And I know that a lot of you are in the North, and so you want to keep everything together. All 5 frames should be together, and then you can add frames as the weather warms and settles. Brood and bees like to be warm, but not hot. You don't want to overly open up that brood nest until you're sure you're in a flow and they have things going on. In my opinion, as a beekeeper, new beekeeper, especially if you're looking to go in with no gloves, maybe very little equipment, a nuc is your perfect opportunity. You don't have 50,000 bees coming out to greet you. You only have whatever, 3 pounds of bees. So this is the time to start slowly acclimating yourself and making your mind stop fearing things and start working either with no gloves or just a veil. Always be prepared. Always have your protection nearby. But this is the time to, learn about your bees. Your nuc is not to just be set out in your backyard and watch it overflow. You have to move it in to a house. Once it's in the house, then you have to eventually start looking. And once a week is more than enough. About 10 days is in general what you want to do. And you can start opening up that brood nest and all, and help her build maybe a little faster. When I build nucs, all my equipment is in mediums. I don't deal in deeps. So when I sell nucs, they are all medium frames. And a lot of customers have chosen to still use deeps, and they ask, is it possible to get a medium nuc and still use deep equipment? And of course it is. The only difference is that you're going to start this nuc in her main colony in a medium. And when you put on a deep over the top or the bottom, whichever way you want to do it, she'll finally go into that and build into it. You may have to entice her up with a little sugar syrup up top or what have you, but it's more than easy to convert the brood nest into the deep, and you don't have to move frame down into the deep. You're not doing that because then they'll just build on the bottom of that. You just start in your medium, put your deep on top, she'll go up, she'll start building, and you can do it that way. There's no worries. You can use any type of equipment that you want. I've even had customers who want to put them in a top bar, but they want a nuc for a top bar. And so I took their top bars and I put them in my frames, built them out, and they had a top bar nuc. He had built his own little triangle shaped top bar nuc. It works. You can do this. You could probably, depending on the size of your top bar, just stick a medium in there and they would end up starting to build out from there. Nukes are an easy start for a beekeeper. It gives you a chance to really start looking for your eggs. What is the colony and how is it working? I'd be interested in hearing some of the things that you've seen in nukes, or some of the controversial nukes that people have found coming their way. Producers are not the ones always at fault, and customers are not always the ones at fault. And a lot of times it's a clash of you've misunderstood something, or you didn't understand how to take care of it. And sometimes it's the producer. They didn't check that nuke before it went out. I check mine the night before I close them up, because there's too many things that could actually go wrong. Even if it's a queen that just built out her own hive, she could have all of a sudden become a drone layer because she was one that just didn't get mated correctly. Some tips for you on buying nukes. One, verify it's a deep or a medium. You don't want to be disappointed one side or the other. When are your nukes ready? These things can be very weather dependent. Last year we had a crazy weather, and you have to be ready to either go get it or say, oh, it's not quite ready yet. It's part of farming. Farming is weather dependent. 2 or 3, it's okay to ask, did you raise the queens to the producer, or where are the queens from? I saw one of the big guys, I think, Weaver, out in Texas. They do VSH queens like I do, but they import nukes with no queens, and they put their queen in. And I highly doubt that any of those guys are leaving a queen cage in there, but you never know. But they import their nuke, but it is one of their queens. And the next thing would be making sure you understand how to secure that while you're driving home. What time are they supposed to be picked up? Early morning is best because it's not hot. Then secure it so it doesn't jostle around. A queen can die on the way home because you hit that bump that you could have avoided. You don't have to go 35 miles an hour, but you do have to be aware that you're carrying live animals in the back. And once you get that home, put that nuke in that spot where you have decided your hive is going to be. Then you can open it, they can orient in that spot, and once you're ready, give it a day, maybe 2, and move her into that 10 frame box. Don't wait. Rain, different circumstances may make you have to wait, but as soon as you can, as soon as you have a nice day, generally if you can wait for a sunny afternoon when things are warm, bees tend to be a lot more friendly when it's warm. Get that nuke into that 10 frame, 8 frame, medium or deep, so that she can start building out a colony, and then you can harvest some honey in 1 year, not this year. Leave that honey for her. That way you have a healthy hive and you can harvest maybe 100 pounds of honey next year. If this was something that helped you, make sure you like this. There's a little button there that says like. Make sure you subscribe, tell your friends, and I am doing subscriptions, memberships, and I'm supposed to hype up my memberships. Whatever you choose, do one or the other or all 3. I would appreciate it. And I hope you get sticky this year. Peace out, bruh.